Today I'm going to have more of a raw conversation with my INFP sister, because INFP is what composes your entire personality. That's why I had to label you. I want to discuss the differences of communication with INFPs and ENTPs. I'm an ENTP. Nice to meet you.
Can't you tell?
Yeah, because I phrased my sentences all wacky. So yeah. Well, anyways, how are you today, Rachel?
I'm doing good. It's a nice day outside. It feels like fall now. Fall's my favorite season. Small talk.
So obviously, I didn't prepare for this video. I don't intend to teach anything important, but I just thought it would be something interesting to discuss. The differences between how we communicate with other people, how it might relate to our cognitive functions.
And also maybe how we communicate among ourselves.
Yeah.
We were just talking a whole lot this morning and wasting a lot of time. And then one of us had to be the responsible one. So I put down my foot and said, we better start cleaning so we can talk some more and not feel guilty afterwards. So we did. Let me ask you the question. How do you normally, if you see somebody that looks like an interesting person and they're new, how would you approach them? Would you approach them first? How would you introduce yourself? Do you mentally prepare yourself, or do you just take the plunge?
It depends, because I haven't really been seeing any new people in real time because of the pandemic and stuff.
Really relatable.
But typically, I think I would just observe them like a creeper from across the room. And I would just notice small things like how they react to other people in the room, or if they're by themselves, like what they're doing, how they're thinking, or like their clothes style or whatever, how they look.
So it's like you're gathering little facts, little pieces of data before you introduce themselves. And you, based on that data, do you think,
What questions to formulate?
Oh, this person's worth enough my time. Or everybody's worth your time. Like, you're curious about everybody.
No, I evaluate if they're worth my time or not. And I do that because, not in a mean way. I'm not strict about if they're worth my time or not.
Yeah.
But I do evaluate if I would get along with them and if I should go for it.
It's interesting because I'm the opposite. Like, I observe them like a creeper too, but maybe not so methodically. I don't pick pieces of information like, I want to know is their body language or stuff. I just think, intimidating or not intimidating? Am I going to bother them or am I not going to bother them? Are they looking at me? Oh, let me hide in the bathroom. But I've gotten better. I feel like sometimes when I see somebody who's interesting enough, like, I just feel the connection. They're looking at me too, and then I just take the plunge and I take the risk and I introduce myself, or I say something really weird, but then they vibe with that, and then that's the green light to go on with a conversation and like maybe talk to them later.
I do that, but on top of the analyzations.
So I think yours is more objective rather than relating, like, should I meet this person based on your own self? Like,
yeah, like, I don't really care about how I feel. It's just me wanting to get a curiosity fix. What am I saying? I don't know. You understand.
You get the gist, I guess. So when you communicate, I've heard you say this many times before. You say that you communicate in bullet points, and I notice that you tend to be very concise, but somehow rambly too. So there's bullet points, but then there's tiny paragraphs of rambly rabbit trails underneath each bullet point. Is that a good thing, you feel like, or a bad thing, or what do you feel about that?
So typically, I try to have an outline of what I want to say, because I know my rambly nature can sometimes be annoying, and I'm very, very conscious of that. So I make an effort to map out what I want the outcome to be from the conversation.
Can I interject there real quick?
Mm-hmm.
You said your rambliness, is that a word? Rambliness can be annoying for people, but sometimes that's the charm that attracts the right people, and they just latch onto your rambliness. Sometimes they're really quiet, and then like, you take control of the conversation. Like me, I would appreciate it if you're, like, I know you're my sister, but if you're somebody else and they were very rambly, I'd be excited too, and I'd feel more comfortable. The whole burden of the conversation wouldn't be just on me, but you're bearing the burden, and it would be very encouraging to me.
Yeah, but also rambling for me can also be draining.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I'm just talking and I don't really know the end of the matter, and
the conclusion.
I just like drift off and I'm like, oh, I feel so stupid. But like I can also evaluate if the person is worth me being vulnerable and rambling. Like for instance, you or like my friends or something. If a new person just seems like they're interested in me through their body language, I'm able to detect, oh,
those little cues.
They're smiling. What about you?
Kind of like that, but exaggerated. If they show the slightest disinterest, I just retract into my shell and I stutter and I apologize and say, oh, that's stupid.
Does it feel like a big blow?
It does. It feels like a smack in the face, or like, but it shouldn't be. I should be confident enough in my points that I'm making, and I'm working on that, and I've gotten better. I've had people surrounding me that they've encouraged me to just, but you don't take it personally, unlike me. I don't know if you INFPs out there can relate with this. I'm really working on that.
Can you expound?
I'm working on just maybe changing the topic that I'm speaking about.
Instead of going around in circles
and being quiet. No, I see they're disinterested in the topic and then I just be quiet. I go,
oh.
But I've been reading recently Leonardo da Vinci's journals. I have a small abridged version, and he was saying you can read people by their body language, and if they're yawning or if they're turning away, just change the topic. Don't be quiet. Don't go silent.
Or go like, guess what? Or like
a
you know
news
what? That
headline.
Reminds me of,
yeah.
And then that's like a complete hook into some other segue.
You have the power. You can lose their interest, but you can easily regain their interest.
Mm-hmm.
But even after those further attempts, they're still not interested, they're not worth your time, and just move on to somebody else. I still have to learn that, and it takes a lot of experimentation and a growth mindset. So INFPs out there, don't get discouraged. So I hog in the conversation. How about you ask me some questions, or vice versa? I don't know.
Well, also, I think you rambling is very good because you often fail to vocalize a lot of what your thoughts or feelings are or ideas because you struggle to not be reserved. So this is kind of refreshing to hear you talk more.
Yeah.
I like hearing you talk
it's the
long.
Coffee.
Yeah, coffee helps.
But the thing is, both of us, whenever we're in a conversation, we can never come to a conclusion. And it's kind of awkward. It's like a dangling, like the story, the cliffhangers. But we're comfortable because we're used to it. We're sisters, so.
Even with other extrovert intuitives like INTPs or other ENTPs, INFPs, ENFPs, like I never feel awkward just ending the conversation abruptly or like jumping really quickly from topic to topic. I never feel like they have to keep up or feel like everything's irrelevant to each other or not connected. It's easy to converse, basically, without having to refine these ideas and be incisive or articulate them properly.
That can be a negative because you do want to come to a conclusion, and then somebody who can focus and come to conclusions, they help you out there, and then you can practice it and you can become better and form your own conclusions.
I don't necessarily think that I struggle to come to a conclusion of the matter. It's just I'd rather not because
open up to possibilities still.
I know it sounds cheesy and stereotypical, but it's true.
It's not cheesy or stereotypical. I think it's cool because vice versa. Say somebody who just forms conclusions and they don't think of other possibilities. Like you are a breath of fresh air to them.
So what are you like when the conversation you are in with another person or a group, or more so another individual that you're not that comfortable with, ends up being awkward and you just don't know what to say because you don't know them that well, but you just got stuck in this random conversation with them?
I think the most typical thing would be silence in between each sentence. Like I don't know, like I rack my brain to answer their questions, but then I end up saying the most stupid, simple thing.
I haven't really been in many awkward conversations because I think I have a good grip, at least in steering the conversation somehow, some way. And most of the time, if it is awkward and I feel tired or something, I'll just be like, oh, what about this future thing that's gonna happen? Can't wait. See you later. And just like, scoot, scoot.
I've had awkward silences and stuff, but it was with people I was supposed to feel comfortable with. But I made it even more awkward by pointing out, oh, I'm so awkward. Or saying,
oh, sorry.
Oh, I don't know what to say. Let me think. Or I don't think. When clearly I do think. I realized, let me just stop being awkward.
So, this is the opposite of communication. How do you struggle to communicate? What makes you feel drained to where you don't want to communicate and you just want to be by yourself in solitude? What prevents you from communicating?
But I would say the stereotypical thing is small talk. But small talk can be nice if it gives you a sense of belonging, where you care about that person, you respect them, you enjoy that they give you attention, or that you make them feel better by giving into their small talk and showing concern for their family or their baby, or I mean, it does wear me out. Don't get me wrong, it does.
Yeah.
Something else that wears me out is a lot of logical, like I have to explain myself, and then I have to, like, so what do you think? And
what is your logical?
And then I feel the exact opposite of what they're saying, and even though they have all the points to prove it, and I have no points. I might have the points, like when I'm not there, I might know the points, but then I'm so probably intimidated by the conversation, by them so aptly putting everything like this and this and this. Citation 2017. At all. And I have the points because I like doing research on my own time, but I can't, like, my brain freezes and all the emotions rise up and flood out and like wash out all the citations because I feel so strongly about it against what they're saying. I think it's a common...
It's the opposite for me.
I think it's a common thing. Like, INFPs, they're not dumb. It's not like they can't prove their points, but they can only prove their points and win the argument in their own minds.
Even though I'm an ENTP, I even struggle with those types of conversations, especially when they're focused on topics that there's a lot of information about that topic and everyone has different opinions. Like, it just doesn't feel like it's worth my time discussing it with someone because you don't know where the perspective is from.
You don't want to just make one judgment.
Like, what if they read a different paper that I didn't read yet? So why should I?
You're still open to the possibilities that you might be wrong. That's a good mindset to have because it's a growth mindset. Like, you can always expand. Do you see? I want to just point out something. One of my flaws in communication, I always finish people's sentences and their ideas, and sometimes what I'm thinking is exactly the opposite of what they're thinking and trying to say, and then it can be annoying.
Hopefully you can detect the cognition behind how we interact with other people.
Maybe even better yet, you can relate, and this can help you with people you know that are our personality types.
Yes. We generally get along through discussions similar to this. She is notorious for interrogating me with all these weird questions about, like, hypothetical situations that are perhaps not so hypothetical. All right. Have a good day, everyone.
Peace out.
Thanks for watching this video. Probably going to split it into 2 parts.
So it's super long, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, Rach.